So this is Ofman's core quality model, and it all hinges around what's good and what's too much of a good thing, and the positive opposite. So I'm just going to walk you very briefly around the model and then give you some examples, because when I've walked you around the model, you go, what is she talking about? So we start off with a core quality, and when you have that core, and we've all got oodles of core qualities. So we start with any quality, and a core quality could be something like determination, or consideration, or courage, or precision, or receptivity to something, empathy, flexibility. So it's anything which shows up as a strength. It's another way of thinking about a core quality. Now, a core quality, if you think about courage, there's always its opposite, which shows up generally as a positive opposite. So we wouldn't say courage, that the opposite of courage is lack of courage. We need to find a positive way of thinking about it. But when you have a core quality, we move up. When you turn it up and it's too much of a good thing, so if someone's always courageous, the pitfall will show up. So the pitfall is that maybe they're tackling stuff that is beyond their remit. That's the pitfall. So then you go back to what's the positive opposite of that? And you think, okay, the positive opposite will be the dynamic challenge that we're trying to achieve. Right, let me give you a real example. But just the main thing to understand here is that when you're thinking about a core quality, it's got the light side, which is its strength, and it's got the dark side, which is the weakness when it shows up. And so feed forward is how we learn to moderate that. And so if you receive feed forward that feels a little bit painful, a little bit stingy, it's often because it's around this core quality that is an integral part of ourselves and something that we deeply, truly value about us. But if we say that the human journey is about becoming more whole, and that journey then is to be more integrated as a human being, then it becomes really important to think about how we show up when we're not our best selves and we're using those core qualities. So let me give you, I thought I'd just illustrate it with me. So this is me. So my core quality here is being a doer. That's my core quality. But when it turns up too much, it turns into pushiness, right? I run people over in trying to get stuff done. So I've got the positive opposite of that. So I'm thinking then now about going down to my allergy down here. So the positive opposite, and this is really important that we're framing it as a positive opposite, because I could say the opposite of doer is, for me, lazy person. But actually that's not helpful in terms of my thinking. It's taking me into black and white thinking. So the more helpful way of looking at that is I'm working with someone who's a reflector. So that is my allergy. Now, can you notice here, if I'm looking at the cross here, right? What happens when I come across a reflector is I push even harder, which means that they reflect even more and say, well, I'll back to you, or I hear nothing, because they're pulling back from my pushiness. So you can see there's a dynamic tension there. So instead, when I'm feeling my pushy self coming to the fore, I have to think, okay, the positive opposite of this pushiness is patience. That is my dynamic challenge. So patience, if I turn it up too much, you can say it goes into reflector, and I can't do that because it's not an integral part of me. But doer and some patience, you can see that is my dynamic challenge. They're a different end of a continuum. So that is one example of it. So that's me. Now, we're going to borrow Jo here. And I'm going to tell you that the fantastic thing about working with Jo is that she is super responsible. If there's any responsibility that she can take on, she'll put her hand up. And so that is a core quality of hers, right? So she is plus responsible. So now I'm going to ask for your help in what's the positive opposite of being really responsible, the positive opposite that might be her allergy here. So what might be her allergy? Now, do you want to have a think about that? Do you want to put it in chat, or do you want to give me a shout out? So I'm looking up at you on my screen. Lisa, I'm teaching to talk.
I don't know if it's the opposite or too much, but I would think in some way overly responsible means burned out or overburdened or too much work. I don't know if which one that
Okay,
would.
that's burnout, plus work. That's her pitfall, right? So that's too much of a good thing. When she's really ramping up, I'm responsible for this. That's the burnout piece.
I feel like everything is my responsibility, and therefore if it goes wrong, it's my fault.
So Joe's allergy here is, let's have another thing.
That might be independence, because if you're just overly responsible all the time, you're focused on other people and things coming at you rather than being independent and driving your own issues.
Right. So someone who's working and not telling her what's going on might be something that she would be allergic to. Should we check in with you, Joe? I don't know.
If it's independence in the sense of, they're very boundaried, and therefore they hold their own boundaries without taking on other people's stuff. If that's what you mean by dependent, then yeah. Okay,
good. So then we've got to get to the positive opposite of burnout. Woo. Here. So what could Joe do here? So we've got the burnout at one end, we've got independent person at the other. What is here that she needs to do? So her dynamic challenge.
Maybe it would be to delegate.
Yes. Okay. Delegate. Let go. Exactly. Thank you, Adam. So that is her dynamic challenge. But if I go to her and just say, Joe, listen, stop being so responsible. This is my feed forward to you. You need to back off. How's she going to take that? She's not going to take it very well, because it's core to who she is. But if I said to her, okay, Joe, let's have a conversation about what parts you feel comfortable letting go of, that's a whole bunch easier conversation to have, because we're talking about what she is doing too much of, more of, and what she could do less of that actually would help her, because it's going to stop her going into overdrive and potentially burnout. So Ofman, I found a very, very useful way of learning to talk to people in terms of what's really valuable to them and what I would like to see more of and what potentially to see less of. And it's particularly important for you if you receive some feedback and feed forward, which stings a little bit. It's probably because it's around something which is fundamental to you. So I'm going to just pause the recording now. Joe, please could you stop the recording?